Blessings, everyone. This is Noemi with BG2G, and I felt like I wanted to throw out there some comments and just some of my logic regarding social justice, immigration, and real justice. So there's a huge difference between social justice and what is actually just. Social justice is, beautiful in concept. It actually it focuses on the equality of provision, and yay, sort of. What it doesn't account for is the fact that people all put different amounts of effort into what they do. Lazy people do exist, and high functioning, overproductive people do exist. And then there are people who, for valid reasons, whether a cognitive disability, a developmental disability, and things like that, are hindered, can't be as productive as someone else. But life is riddled with people who were poor and are now rich. People who had legs and, had a horrible accident. Maybe they lost their legs. Now they're excelling in the Special Olympics and things like that. So what social justice doesn't really account for is that there's this, I guess, this unique human trait where people, exceed each other's ability. I mean, anybody who understands competition, right? Or is competitive. Me personally, I do not identify as somebody who is competitive, but I am ambitious. And I hunger and thirst, and I'm on mission. I have ideas and goals, and I will eat ramen noodles for an entire month in order to utilize my money to make investments or key moves into my future. So social justice doesn't really account for that level. And so what I see, and these are my opinions, you're more than welcome to share your thoughts, for all the gamers out there, because I really kind of want to talk to like youth in a way. When you go up the ranks in gaming, or you achieve a certain gold coins or money or whatever tokens in a game for your achievements, and you are excelling, how would you like that your high achievement reward to be distributed evenly to all those you just beat in the name of equality? Like, okay, you gained 50 coins and by beating these people, right? And so now we're gonna distribute, 20 of your coins to these that you beat, just so they don't suffer a loss. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't seem fair, right? and that's kind of the issue between social justice. This concept of equality and justice are not the same. If I can talk to many people who are poor, and I live in a studio and I'm doing all this from a little studio. I don't even have a car because I rather invest in a camera for my computer. I don't know. With regards to immigration, I can talk to many poor people, in debt, on state, on welfare, right? And I can ask them, well, why don't you get a dog? They love animals. Or even the working class, why don't you get a dog? Or why don't you have another child, right? And what do people say? Oh, no, a dog, it's too expensive. You got to get them, like their license, their vaccines. You got to pay to get them neutered or spayed or whatever. And that's food. And what if they get hurt? You got to consider, medical expenses and all these things, right? Because to properly care for an animal, you have all these expenses, and they choose not to because their budget is tight. On another level, and the same thing with children. Why don't people, they love kids. Oh, they want to have their own. They're like, nah, the finances. No way can I I incur the time expense, the food expense, the medical expense. Is just too much. It would be oppressive to that home. Well, in regards to immigration, right? You have this influx of immigrants coming into our nation, and America, thanks to the Bush Clinton dynasty, that Obama inherited and he didn't make any better or anything, it's like that Trump inherited, of trillions of dollars in debt. So America as a nation is trillions of dollars in debt. Most states are in the negative. States are in debt. If our government is in so much debt, I don't understand how these justice warriors and all these people are fighting for immigration, for more people from other countries to come and have access to our welfare system, have access to the already negative government funding, okay? And when we ourselves are barely surviving, it doesn't make sense. It's one thing if, people wanted to come and, they wanted to start a business, they're contributing to our economy, but people who are influxing, invading basically our nation, and then to be dependent. I mean, look at all, like, right now, the seniors and everything, like the social security system, there's so much talk about them not having enough to even support the retirement of all the seniors who are retiring right now. How is this even okay? How is any of this just? Honestly, I feel that if you consider yourself a social justice warrior, and you are in politics or you care about immigration, the best thing that you can do is open your own home to an immigrant. Like, sponsor a child, sponsor a family, and out of your money, your wealth, you feed them, right? Because taxing our government, which is designed to feed the poor of this nation, which there are many, that are not adequately being taken care of, and then fighting for the rights. I mean, that's like saying, let's take all our taxes and just start out of our government taxes, out of our retirement. Let's go and pay, for food, clothing, and education for the rest of the poor in the world, right? Why doesn't our government fund education, all that in the other world? What? We're in debt. We're in debt. We're in debt. We can't even afford us. We can't even afford us. And then there's this argument about, taking the wealthy of that 1%, like obscene wealthy group, right? That has this obscene amount of money that they don't really need, they're hoarding. This is another thing people need to understand. Taxes in America come predominantly from the working class. It is income tax. It's income, work generated income. Okay? The taxes are not taxing the wealth stored in savings accounts overseas. And America doesn't have jurisdiction to tax the wealth of the 1% in, like the Queen of England, or all these other wealthy billionaires that they store their wealth. So who are you taxing? You're taxing the working poor. You're taxing the nurses, the people, the police officers, the people who work for a living, the small entrepreneurs who have started their business, who work way harder than, so many office jobs, minimum wage office jobs. And you're taxing them, you're double taxing them. So our taxation system is not going to tax the wealthy. You're taxing the middle class poor who are under the tax grid, because the wealthy people, they hide their wealth in life insurance policies. They hide their wealth in accounts overseas, like Swiss bank accounts and other overseas accounts, and they're hoarding their wealth. Absolutely, they are. But here in America, if you're fighting for higher taxes to provide for immigration, you're really taxing the working poor who work crazy hours to fund the wealth of the business elites, who have their wealth in other overseas. Like, so I don't understand how like social justice warriors and all these people who say they're for justice, how they are being just. They're not. They want to steal from the poor, from what they think is rich, right? From the medium rich, because they're not stealing from the rich. The rich are rich and they hide their wealth elsewhere, and higher taxes is not going to take that wealth back into the states. It's just not. So, the idea is you're taxing the working poor to fund this immigration crisis, and the only thing it's going to produce is more poverty in this nation. And the idea of equality for these invading immigrants, I am not judging their situation, whether it's good, it's bad, whether they are, fleeing for like refuge or whatever. What I'm saying is, on the logical end, they're another mouth to feed, they're a food expense, they're a medical expense, on US like money that is funded by the working poor. The working poor. It's just taking poor from another country, and the media is rallying poor from this country to steal the almost surviving middle class and make them poor by higher taxes. And it's not taking money from the 1% wealthy that are hoarding wealth. Like, it's not gonna affect them. They're just laughing at us destroy each other. So imagine you've worked, most of your life, you have a house, you're still in debt, right? You're still paying that horrendous mortgage, and you're struggling. How would you want somebody like our welfare system, let's say, somebody comes in and they're poor. How would you like the government to just be like, all right, this person, they have a house, and you can just live in them and mooch off of them, like, go there, they're going to take care of you. And our government basically tells you that you have to open your house to random strangers, and they will be eating your food, and you have to take care of them, right? The average person will see this as totally unfair. Like, excuse me? This is my house. I pay the bills. What is this random person doing in my house? And using my electricity, they're not contributing to the household income, right? That would be very shocking. That would be like, whoa, home invasion type stuff, right? Imagine if like all the people in Connecticut who have a house valued over 400,000, if all of a sudden people started hiding out in your basement and living and taking your electricity and taking your food and just everything, and then you go to the government and you're like, kick these people out, they don't live here, and the government's like, no, wait, you have to evict them. You're like, I didn't even invite them in the first place, right? It's like, what are they doing? Why would you kick them out? You know, like, you're wealthy and they're poor, so why don't you open your house to them? Like, that's not right. This is the immigration logic. It doesn't, is that fair? Is that justice? I mean, I'm not, think about it. You know, would that be right? You have your home, you think it's yours, and all of a sudden people just are allowed by the government to invade your house. You can't evict them, and you have to support them, and you have to feed them. I mean, how would you feel? Why? Because you own a house valued at 400,000 or more. So you're rich and they're poor. So we're distributing your wealth to these poor people. Like, none of that would seem logically fair or right. Or, I mean, it wasn't like the government just gave them this property, like they earned their way up there. And so a lot of the arguments for immigration and giving illegal immigrants like rights and everything, that's their argument. It makes no sense. I don't understand how someone who claims to be, you know, intelligent and involved in government cannot see the offense, cannot see the injustice, cannot see the danger to the home. Many people, even though they have a house valued at 400, thousand or whatever, they're in debt. They don't own it. They don't own the vehicles. Because of whatever equity they have, they get credit. And so again, most of America are pretty much slaves to the banks, and they work to pay off their debt. So you bring in another expense to the home, and they are going to be overburdened. And that's what immigration is doing, just at a national level, because it's not like America has been great for the last 20 years or so. America financially has been in a depression. We have been in trillions of dollars in debt, and it's like, okay, I mean, when I'm in debt like $500 above what I already owe in student loans, I have to deny myself some things, luxuries, deny myself a decent meal, live off of ramen noodles for a month so I can pay off my debt. So when you have this influx of these people that are just going to drape unless we cut and sacrifice, how are we going to pay off this extra expense? And again, I want to remind people that those wealthy, the 1% or 3% of the wealthy that are hoarding their wealth, have their wealth already stored in accounts, mostly, overseas, and it's protected. You're not gonna, raising up taxes is not gonna affect the wealth they already have. You would literally have to tax the wealthy, that have, millions of dollars in the bank already just sitting there. Tax that sitting money, not the working money, which is what income tax is. Income tax is tax from working money, people who are earning it. And honestly, if people have, $1 million in an account, to tax them just for having that money, that's just robbery. That's stealing. That's illegal. And how is stealing just, unless, I mean, unless they gained their income unlawfully, taking that money would be stealing. And so any justice warrior, any politician, advocating for justice, at like, in the name of justice, advocating for immigration and supporting illegal immigration and supporting rights, citizen rights on those illegal immigrants, is not focused on justice. They really don't care on but what is right. They can't. I don't know how they can see that in any of this. So they're not just, or they're flat out lying, like, unless they completely lack common sense, which I doubt. And maybe it's just they can't see past, the daily living. They can't foresee how, a, acquiring an extra mouth to feed into a home will, burden the household unless they have more income coming in. And they can't expand that truth into, city, state, and national realities. But hopefully this video will. So yeah, food for thought. Blessings.